Hey, Vlad here, devinsidey.com. Welcome to another video. I'm really sorry to interrupt the Homegrown Collection series. I usually don't do this kind of thing, but this time I decided to make a tiny detour which both of us can benefit from. As always, we're in the Ubuntu virtual machine and we're running Sublime Text at the top and the regular terminal at the bottom, which runs SBT, which reruns the tests every time I save the file. Now, I have been saying something like this for the last 40 videos or so, and beginning with the next one, I'm going to be saying something like this. As always, we're in the Ubuntu virtual machine and we're running Sublime Text maximized with a plugin called Terminus, which allows us to emulate the regular terminal, which runs SBT, which reruns the tests every time we save the file. This wonderful plugin is written by a guy called Renny3K, at least this is how he calls himself on GitHub, and today I'm going to show you how to set it all up. But before I do, allow me to explain why I haven't done this long time ago, because clearly this plugin is really awesome. The reason is simply that I didn't want to overwhelm you with gazillions of tools that you would need to install before you start developing software. For instance, my setup at work is quite a bit different from my setup when I'm recording the videos, and also my setup at work is constantly changing because I keep playing around with new tools and setups. However, for my tutorials, I'm trying to keep things as stable as possible. For instance, we're still on a relatively outdated version of SBT, and we're also not running the latest and greatest Scala version either. As I said, I'm doing this to maintain the experience for you so that you stay fully engaged and immersed into the topic. However, the topics that we've been discussing lately, and also the topics that we're going to be discussing in the videos to come, are not at the beginner level anymore. So I really strongly believe that not only can you handle, but also really benefit from a few tweaks here and there. So in this video, we're going to do two things. We're going to install the plugin from scratch, and we're going to set it up a little bit, and we'll also switch to using Fira Code, which is an awesome programming font. All right, enough talking. Give me a second to remove Terminus from my Sublime so that I can show you how to set it up from scratch. All right, so I assume that you know what package control is. If you already have package control installed, then you just open the command palette and type in install. And if you don't have package control installed, then the first option that you will see would be install package control. So you do that, restart Sublime, that never hurts, and after that you install the package, and it's loading some repositories. You type in Terminus, you press enter, it's going to load something over here. It never hurts to open the built-in console over here to see what it's actually doing. I believe it loaded, and as I said, it never hurts to restart Sublime, so let's do that real quick. All right, so it's restarted. Always open the console in the beginning. Well, not always, but like sometimes, especially when you install new plugins, open the console, make sure that all of them are loaded or not. All right, so first of all, Sublime has a concept of panels. So for example, this built-in console, which is a Python custom Python console, is a panel. Or for example, if you're searching for something, for instance, if I press Control F, then it will switch to this panel. And the panel, so there can only be one panel at a time. And also, even if you're not inside of the panel, so if you're, for example, over here in the file and you're typing something, and then for some reason you have to press Escape, the panel will always react to that escape, and the panel will be closed. Doesn't matter which panel you have, it will always be closed. Which is a bit problematic with Terminus, because one of the ways that you can run Terminus is inside of one of these panels, and this is what we're going to do right now. So if we press Ctrl-Shift-P, which allows us, which shows us the command palette, we can type in Terminus. And notice that because of fuzzy searching, it also finds commands that are not related to Terminus. But notice that most Terminus commands have a colon in them, either in the end or in the beginning. So if you type in Terminus colon, then you see only the Terminus commands. And also if you start the command with a colon, then you also see this. So we're going to start with these two. As you can see, we can run Terminus in a panel. So if I start it, it's going to look like this. Now I'm running Bioboo, which is why it looks a bit weird. I'm going to close it now again. So again, as I said, every time you press Escape, it's just going to close it, which is kind of annoying. So, however, every time you restart the panel, it will be the same panel, right? So now I'm going to close it, and I'm going to run it in the view instead. So view means that it opens as a regular tab, as any other regular tab. Let me see if I can create a new tab like this. No, I can't, because my shortcuts are blocked. So if I close that, if I start, open a few tabs, and I open Terminus in view again, you will see this is just a regular Sublime tab. Okay, so the first thing that we will do is we will go to the settings, and we will change the shell that it will run. So let's go to Terminus Settings. And as always, settings open in a new Sublime instance, and you see the default settings on the left and the user settings on the right. So it starts with an array of shell configs. So we could, for example, copy the entire array like that, put it over here. Now, you see a bunch of different shells here. For example, this is the bash shell, the standard Ubuntu shell or Linux shell. This is the ZSH shell that I'm running. This is the one that I will keep. This is the one for Windows. This is PowerShell as well for Windows. Now, I'm on Unix, so I'm on Ubuntu, so I'm just going to remove all of them. And I'm going to tell it to, I'm sorry, I want it to keep the ZSH. So I want to keep that ZSH and remove these and also remove bash. I'm using ZSH exclusively, and I don't want it to run as a login shell. And this is the only shell, but still I want to explicitly enable it to run as default. So I'm going to set this one to true. All right, so now I can actually stay in this instance of Sublime. It doesn't really matter. So now if I open Terminus in the view or in the panel, doesn't really matter. Now it starts the regular Z shell. All right, so the first thing that we do though, we will skip the settings for a bit. We'll come back to them in a second. The other thing that we will do is we're going to go to Terminus Keybindings. So we tap something like this, Term Keybindings. It starts in its own Sublime instance. Let me make it bigger. Come on. There we go. Now, notice that these two are starting from somewhere in the Terminus folder, right? So this is the default Linux, and this is the default general. So they should be ordered like this, I believe. So, or maybe not like this. No, like this. Yeah. So it's user. Your key bindings is the priority, then the Linux key bindings are the priority, then the default. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert two new keys, and notice that this thing on the right, this is the regular key bindings, like the user key bindings file. So I'm going to maximize that. We're going to add a key to start the panel. So to start the terminus in the view actually. So if I by now I press Control tilde, then the standard Python console opens, right? But I want to switch that so that terminus opens instead. So this is exactly what I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to put a comma here. Don't forget the comma, really important. And now I'm going to have keys over here. Keys. And let's maintain the formatting here. Right. So my key is going to be Control plus tilde. All right. So my command is going to be terminus open. All right. Comma, and this one is also going to get arguments, and the argument is going to be a JSON object. The whole thing is JSON. The config underscore name is going to be default, so that it starts the default config, which in my case doesn't really matter because I have only one. And the current working directory is going to be a string interpolation here, so that Sublime can fetch the file path, and the file path is the current folder. Whoops. There we go, like this. So unless I did some spelling mistakes, we should be done with this key binding. So I saved the file. So now if I press that, then I expect the terminus to open, but somehow it doesn't. Let me check. All right, there's a typo over here, so it should be terminus like this. All right, so let's try it again, and there we go. It opens in the view. So I press it again, it will open yet another tab with it, right? So this is different shells, right? So I open another one and it's empty, right? Control D closes them. All right. Now notice that Sublime also has a shortcut for closing a tab, which is Control W. So if I press Control W here, it would also close it. Now it's for you to decide if you want that. I personally don't want that. For me, it's enough that Control D closes it. So I'm gonna insert yet another key here to prevent that from happening, but only for terminus. Right. So this one is going to be, the structure is going to be very similar. So it's going to be Control W, right? And the, oops, not here. The command is going to be terminus key press, like this. And it's also going to get arguments, which is a JSON object, and it's key, which is an empty string, and then a comma. And now we also have context. We didn't have that before, context. And context is an array of JSON objects. Right, so over here what we have is a key, and the value is terminus view, right? So basically to only work in the terminus view, and let's see if that already worked. So if I open it over here, I press Control W and it doesn't close. However, if I press Control D, it still closes, which is totally enough for me. And now we're done with the key bindings, and we're going to go back to the settings. So let me close that. Let me go to the settings. Terminus settings over here. All right, let me maybe maximize it. All right, okay, so we're just gonna go through all of them real quick. It's not that many. All right, so 256 colors, true. So if you're on Ubuntu or any other Linux system, it is advised to enable it. So we're just gonna copy that over here, set it to true. And next one is Unix term, and it is also advised here, if you read this comment, which you can do on your own, it advises to you, if you're on the Unix system, to use xterm 256 colors, because then apparently the colors would look better, and it has to be a string. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is Unix language. English is enough for me. Scroll back history. So if, as the comment says, number of lines kept in scroll back history, decreasing this value may improve performance. So yeah, that's the thing. So if you experience performance issues, decrease this number. Natural keyboard, true, right? Disable keys. All right, so Sublime has a bunch of shortcuts, and a terminal on itself also has keys of its own, and there's quite a few that we want to disable. For example, Control P is a regular terminal command, but in Sublime, and this is the go to file, right? So I actually want to disable that in a terminal. So basically, this means that if the terminal is going to be running, actually I can show this to you. So let's remove this comma so that the config is valid. So if I start Terminus over here, I can still press Control P and it will show me all the open files. All right. So let me close that again and just keep looking. All right. The last one is the theme. And you can customize the theme. Like if you, actually I'm using origami, so I can do this, right? So I'm going to start it over here. So I'm running Terminus over here. So as you can see, it doesn't really fit my theme, and you can change all of that. So now over here, we're just going to say that the theme is not going to be default. The theme is actually going to be user, right? And over here, we can customize the user theme colors. So we're just going to have it over here. Okay, so for example, I want the background to actually look like my background over here. So I'm just going to copy that background, right? So over here, for example, if I do everything red, then the whole background is going to be red. What did I do wrong? Oh, I wanted red. Okay, hold on. It's red, green, blue. So like this. That's what I wanted. Okay, so it's red now. Now, my background is this. I just happen to know this. Also notice that if I select something over here and if I select something over here, the color will be different. So there's a way to control that as well. So it's the selection over here, selection, comma. Don't forget the hash symbols, very important. Okay, so my selection color happens to be this one, right? So now if I select something over here, it's going to have the same color. The next one is going to be they're sort of called weirdly. They're called like 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. But there's a helpful comment over here to black. For example, this one is black, this one's red, this one's green, and so on and so on. So for example, this one is black. But if I open like my regular terminal in Ubuntu, as you can see, they're sort of grayish. So what I can do is I can go in and I can configure that to have the same color. And also, if I'm in some folder, as you can see, it has this blue color. But if I do the same thing over here, it's going to have like this darker blue. So I can actually change that. So let me close that. So I can go over here and I can say my black is actually going to be a little bit different. Okay, so my black just happens to be this color, right, which is sort of like light gray. And I forgot the hash symbol. I just said that it's really important. All right, and yeah, let me save it. All right, so yeah, there you see it's light gray, and the same thing for the blue, and the blue happens to be 04. So let's do that, close that, and hash symbol over here, and my color for the blue is this one. Now, I obviously already know how my color should look like, and I'm going to show you how to figure this out. Now, obviously, you can unpack your theme or Google your theme, find it online, find the color. But what I'm going to show you is a sort of like a hacky way, but at least it always works. So what I usually do is I just go to Windows, or you can use whatever you want. Basically, what you want to do is you want to take a screenshot. So I'm using the snipping tool in Windows, which starts over here. So I'm going to move it. Actually, I'm going to go do like this, open here. All right, so I'm saying new. I'm taking a screenshot of only this tiny part. I'm going to save it on my desktop, right? Like this, capture. There we go. We're not going to need this anymore. Let's minimize it. So now it's over here. I'm going to put it over here. So I can open it with Paint. The regular Paint is going to be enough. You can open it with some, also decent drawing program. So what you can do is you can steal a color from a picture. So there's a color picker over here. So I just click somewhere on the color that I want, and that this color changes now. And if I go to edit colors, I will see this color over here selected, and you see the red, green, blue values. Now Sublime can work with red, green, blue values, but I also want to show you how you can convert these blue values to red, green, blue values into RGB values into hash code. So what you do is you just open your browser and you literally say RGB to hex, and at least for me this thing opens. And if it doesn't open for you, then you can, there's a bunch of them over here. And in fact, let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so what I can do now is I'm going to move this to my different screen so that I can just copy these values over here, RGB, right? So it's on a different screen. I'm opening Chrome again. I'm going over here. So we have 43, we have 48, and we have 59 over here, right? And as you can see, that this is my Sublime color. So if I copy that, if I open my virtual machine again, I paste it over here. As you can see, this is exactly this, and this is exactly how I got it. All right, there we go. All right, so let me close this now. We're pretty much done with Terminus, but before I leave, as I said, we're also going to use a different font. I already made a video about Fira Code and how to set it up in Sublime. I'm going to link it over here. So Fira Code is a font that it is designed for programming. It is based on another different font called Fira Mono. And the cool thing about it is that not only is it very well suited for programming, it also has a thing called ligatures. And a ligature is a property of a font where it can tell the editor to render multiple characters as one. For example, over here we have a smaller or equal sign. Over here we have something that resembles an arrow, but it's basically an equal sign and a greater than sign, and so on and so on and so on. So if we just go to settings, and I'm gonna keep it small over here, right? So if let me make it a bit wider. If I scroll down just a little bit, there's font face property, right? So I'm gonna press Control I, oops, that's Control O, Control I, font. I just want to paste it somewhere over here. So if I just paste it over here and say Fira Code Lite, and as I said, I already have it installed, and I have a video that explains how to install it, but all I need is to select it. As soon as I save it, you will see that, for example, this symbol is going to look much better. This symbol as well, this arrow as well. Let's see. There we go. As you can see, it actually starting to look like in math. This is actually a small or equal sign. As you can see, it's still two symbols, right? So I can remove the smaller symbol, the equal symbol, right? Then it's going to look like this. As soon as I add the equal symbol, it's going to change to that. The equal signs look better. The arrows look better, and so on and so on and so on. All right, so I didn't want to install this font because I didn't want to confuse some of you, because if you're a beginner, and my tutorials are mostly for beginners, if you see this and then you're wondering how to type that thing in, it might be a bit confusing. But as I said, by now we're quite a bit deep into all of our topics, so I'm sure that you can handle this. Okay, so let me save that, and yeah, we're pretty much done with the video. So for now, we just all we're gonna do now is we're just gonna have fun. Actually, my Control W doesn't work, which means that we screwed up something in the key bindings. Let's check it out. Terminus key bindings. All right, I'm just gonna maximize it like this. Let's see, and there we go. There's a typo over here. The context. All right, there we go. Let me save that. So if I go out, if I press Control W now, it should close. But if I open Terminus, then I press Control W and it doesn't close. All right, there we go. So now we're just gonna play around with it. For example, we can run Vim. So I'm gonna open set over here. I'm gonna use origami to open that thing with another pane at the bottom. I'm gonna run Terminus, right? And I'm just gonna reopen the same file. So if I go to Vim, source main Scala homegrown collections, set, press enter over here, right? So we see actually Vim here, and I'm using my arrow keys over here to edit this. For example, I have to press I to enter the insert mode. I have to remove this, right? I'm gonna go to sealed trait, escape colon, escape colon WQ, and now Sublime actually noticed that it actually changed. I'm gonna change it back real quick. Abstract class. right? Let's close that. Let's use that, right, like this, which is really, really cool. You can also have fun things. So as you can see, this is a really, really well emulated terminal, which I really like. All right, that's all I got for you today. Let me say a few things before I leave. First of all, this plugin, if you go to the page again, it is pretty new. As you can see, 5 months ago. Now I'm buffering my videos, so by the time you see this video, it's going to be like 6 months, probably around 6 months, maybe even 7. So basically, it still has a few teething problems. For instance, it has a memory leak, so if you have it open all day, then it might run out of memory, and then you might need to kill it and restart Sublime real quick. It's kind of been annoying, but it's fine for me. The second thing is that the output of the terminal is a little bit slower. I'm sure that it has something to do with the Sublime API itself, and not the emulation of the terminal. So it doesn't really bother me. It's not it's not too slow. I'm actually using it at work as well. But if you have something like an exception where you have, like, I don't know, 400 lines of stack trace printed out, then you can actually sit there and literally observe it being printed out. So if it bothers you, then I don't know, use it for, I don't know, compiling, running tests, but maybe not for things with a huge output. And the third thing is that, and actually realized it while I was recording this video, is that uninstalling it was quite a bit of a roller coaster. Try it out if you don't believe me. Actually, that's all I got for you today. It's been Vlad, DavidSideU.com. Like this video if you did. Subscribe if you want to improve the developer inside you. I'm mostly doing videos related to Scala, but I really like Sublime, and I'm always going to be playing with some tools or plugins or whatever. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, subscribe, and yeah, see you next time. Most importantly, take care.